Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Man's Bar. Still tucked away nice and safe under the man's kitchen. Now tonight, we're going to do a review of a Kentucky Straight Bourbon. But before we start, I want to tell you about an upcoming review. And I've never plugged an upcoming review before. Why am I doing it tonight? Well, it's going to be Canadian Club Chairman Select 100% Rye Whiskey. And the reason I'm going to be doing this is the gentleman that runs RyeSkiSamples.com. So it's like whiskey samples, but it's rye, because he is infatuated with rye whiskeys. He has asked me to do a written review for his website of a rye of my choice, and I said to him, well, I'm Canadian, would you like me to do a Canadian rye? And he said, sounds great. So that's what I'm going to do, is the Canadian Club 100% rye. If you're interested in his website, which I think you should be, I'm going to link it in my description below. And I'm also going to link his Twitter. He's always posting funny and great pictures and tweets about rye whiskeys. Rye is his favorite because before Prohibition, as many of you know, rye was the most popular whiskey made in the US. And rye is on a resurgence, becoming again one of the more popular whiskeys, soon to overtake bourbon. Rye is also the traditional whiskey used in Manhattans and Old Fashions. So with that out of the way, let's hit the intro. And we're back from the intro. Now, before I tell you which bourbon we're doing tonight, we've got to remind you that if you like this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And YouTube makes this a two-part process for some reason. You need to also ding the bell icon so you actually get notifications when I post videos. If you like this video, hit the like button and leave me a comment to tell me why you'd agree or disagree with my decision tonight. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. That way you too can get notifications and pictures and funny tweets and stuff that I put out. Okay, that's fine. So tonight, we're going to be doing Bulleit Bourbon. Bulleit Frontier Whiskey. 45% alcohol or 90 proof. Now, one of the interesting things is that this is actually one of the bourbons that uses a cork. And from feeling it, I would say that this is a real cork, not a synthetic cork. When I smell the cork, I do pick up a little bit of the whiskey from it. And we're going to start doing our pours now and letting you know all about these whiskeys. Alright, I have my On the Rocks here, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is take 2 of the whole video. So I poured everything out as I was doing it, drank them, said what I thought, and then when I went around, the camera turned off. So it's already opened up. Normally I like to drink it now right away and then come back to it after and tell you the difference between it opening. I can tell you the only difference really was in the nose. It gets a much more deeper, robust nose. I can really smell some caramel notes. Originally, before it opened up, I think I was saying light honey and straw. But now it smells a lot like caramel candies. Caramel on the back end and straw on the front. It's an interesting transition to go from straw, and as it goes deeper back to your mouth, caramel. It's definitely a decent whiskey to be drinking on the rocks. So let's move on to our next selection. Alright, we have our pop mixer poured, and again our proper ratio is 3 parts pop, 1 part whiskey. On the nose, I'm getting mostly pop. When you drink it, you're going to get that Coke flavor everywhere in your mouth. You're going to get a little bit of extra caramel on the back. and there really is no burn from the alcohol on this. The pop masks it well. And that's something I can't say was true about last week's selection, the Jack Daniels. Last week our Jack Daniels measured in at 40% alcohol by volume, making it 5% weaker than this Bulleit Bourbon. But the Bulleit Bourbon does a better job at masking the burn of the alcohol, the heat at the back. You get a lot more of the whiskey flavor up front here. So now we're going to move on to our third drink. Alright, we have our Manhattan made. Again, we all know that a traditional Manhattan is made with rye, but for the consistency of evaluating these beverages, so far I haven't switched off of Manhattans. Definitely you're getting that sweet vermouth on the nose and a little bit of the bitters. So you're going to get the bitters tasting all the way across your palate. You can notice them from the front, you can notice them in the middle, you can notice them on the back as the sip moves through your mouth. In the front, you're going to definitely pick up the whiskey. You're going to get a little bit of that caramel and a little straw. As it gets to the back of your palate, you're going to pick up that sweet vermouth. You can get a lot of the sweetness back there, especially right here is where I could really feel all the sweetness. So, now that we've sampled this in 3 variations, let's move on to the scorecard and see how it stacks up against the other beverages. Alright, so you can see on the scorecard, Bulleit Bourbon ties with Maker's Mark for 3rd place, both receiving an overall score of 6.67. Or if you're going to round and call it a score out of 100, you could call it a 67. Now Bulleit Bourbon comes in on the rocks as a 6.5 out of 10. About the same as the Jameson Irish Whiskey, the Jack Daniels, and better than the Canadian Club. Comes in at a 7 out of 10 as a pop mixer, tying with Chivec, but falling below Jack Daniels and Old Forester. And finally, as a cocktail, Bulleit Bourbon comes in as a 6.5 out of 10, tying with Canadian Club, but beating Jack Daniels, falling short of everyone else. But it's the overall well-roundedness of this bourbon that brings it in an average score of 6.67, making it tied for 3rd place. It doesn't clearly beat anybody else out, but it happens to hit all the right marks in all the right places, and it's at an exceptional price point, at least where I am, that makes it a very attractive bourbon to have in your selection. Alright, there you have my score for Bulleit Bourbon. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is a budget bourbon, and it's a great budget bourbon. If you need some whiskeys if you're building your first whiskey bar and you want to get your first bourbon, this is definitely a must-have. It's a good bourbon for its value. It holds up well on the rocks, it holds up well with pop, holds up well as a cocktail. If you have company over, you can definitely give this to them. You might want to pick up maybe even a second bottle on standby just in case. And as your whiskey selection grows, I feel like this is going to become a staple in my bar. This is my first bottle of it, and I think I'll always have a bottle of it around because it's an exceptional value. Now with that said, remember that coming up soon will be a written review of Canadian Club 100% Rye for RyeSkiSamples.com. If you liked this video, please remember to hit the like button. If you want to leave a comment agreeing or disagreeing with my thoughts on Bulleit Bourbon, go ahead, leave them down below. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all the links will be down below. Until next week, the man's bar is closed.